In the deep darkness, a girl will experience a night she will always remember. Welcome to the unforgettable dark night.
For 3 days, it rained a lot. I could hear the loud thunder and see the bright lightning outside my house. I was sitting by the fire reading a book when suddenly the thunder and lightning scared me. I got up quickly to close the rattling window. I looked outside and saw that it was very dark everywhere. The trees were moving in the wind, enjoying the rain. The night felt spooky because of the darkness and rain. I was sitting alone by the fire, rocking in my chair, feeling the chill of the night. Suddenly, the power went out, and I was surrounded by darkness, making me shiver. When I tried to stand up to get a candle from the kitchen, fear held my legs still. But I gathered my courage and moved forward, humming a tune to calm myself. Using the faint light from my phone, I searched for the candle. My heart was racing, beating louder than before, reminding me that I was still alive. I let out a sigh of relief when I finally found the candle. Just as I was about to light it, the phone rang, startling me. I screamed in fear, accidentally dropping the candle I had searched so hard for. I answered the call. It was my mother. With a shaky voice, I said, "Hello." My mom asked what happened, and I told her that the power was out and it had been raining heavily for 3 days, making it hard to leave the house. As a busy businesswoman, I was always on the go. But feeling worn out from the hustle, I decided to take a break and spend some time in Udi. I had rented a cottage there for a few days. My mom was in London at the moment, helping my sister-in-law who was about to have her first baby. Otherwise, she would have been here with me. I really missed her right now. I've always had a fear of the dark, and it seemed to be even stronger now. The cottage was nestled within a rubber estate, its design beautiful. Normally, we rented a different cottage for our holidays, but this time, due to the sudden plan, I had to settle for this one. My mom's call brought me great relief, dispelling my fear. I felt my strength return as I searched for the candle and lit it. I held the lit candle and made my way to the living room. My shadow seemed bigger than usual, making me uneasy. I glanced out of the window. It was a full moon night, and the scene outside was breathtaking. The moon peeked through the swaying trees, casting a beautiful glow. The rain intensified, signaling that it wouldn't stop soon, meaning I had to endure the darkness longer. I returned to sit by the fireplace, feeling frightened by my own shadow. Desperate to escape this fear, I decided to sleep, hoping the rain would stop by morning so I could leave. I lay down on the couch and quickly fell asleep. Suddenly, a loud screech jolted me awake around midnight, sending shivers down my spine. I opened my eyes to find that the rain had stopped, but darkness still engulfed everything. I relit the candle and peeked out of the window, only to hear dogs howling. I cursed them for their timing. My heart pounded loudly, each beat echoing in the silence. Then, another piercing scream echoed in the distance. My blood ran cold. Was I dreaming? No, it was real. Someone was screaming somewhere far away. Fear gripped me, and the sound of the howling dogs made me break out in a cold sweat, despite the chilly night. I hurried back to the couch, pulled the bedsheet up to my chin, and lay down, hoping to push away the fear. But it lingered, growing stronger with each passing moment. The shrieks intensified, making me tremble. Sweat dripped down my forehead in large beads, and my heart raced even faster. I feared it might stop altogether at such a rapid pace. Summoning all my courage, I approached the window, slowly pulling back the curtains to peer outside. My heart skipped a beat, and I let out a louder scream than before. Just then, the power came back on, as if by some divine intervention. Maybe God sensed that leaving me in the dark any longer would be too much for me to bear. Outside my window stood a girl, her clothes stained with blood. My blood ran cold, and I was paralyzed with fear. I couldn't move, my mind shutting down as I recalled the stories my colleagues had told me before I booked the cottage. They had told me a chilling tale. A young girl had been brutally murdered by her landlord, and her ghost still haunted the cottage, waiting to seek revenge on him. Many previous tenants had reported hearing her screams and cries in the distance, and some even claimed the blood-stained girl knocked on the door, begging for help. These stories had driven people away, making the cottage available at a very reasonable rate. I never believed in ghosts or these stories. They seemed amusing to me, and I often joked about them. That's why I had chosen to stay in this cottage alone, determined to prove to everyone that ghosts were just a figment of imagination. But now, as I stared at the girl standing outside my window, the reality hit me. I felt like a fool for not believing. How could I deny the existence of ghosts when one stood right before my eyes? Gathering my courage, I moved to the couch and sat down, quietly reciting prayers. I had heard that reciting prayers could keep ghosts away. But despite my efforts, her screams still echoed around me, refusing to be drowned out. I covered my ears, trembling with fear, not from the cold, but from sheer terror. As the clock struck 1, its ticking merged with the pounding of my heart. But these weren't just my heartbeats, someone was banging loudly on my door. Just as they had warned me, it was the girl, pleading for help. Paralyzed with fear, I dashed under the table, as if engaging in a futile game of hide and seek with the ghost. When fear takes over, our rationality seems to vanish, and we end up doing things that seem absurd in hindsight. I sat under the table, thinking that the ghost might not immediately find me if it entered through the door, like in the movies. Fear does strange things to your thoughts. Even brilliant minds like Einstein would think such things when scared. I pondered ways to escape from the ghost, but it seemed she wasn't going to leave me alone. The banging grew louder, indicating she was still outside. I stayed under the table for almost an hour, waiting for her to leave. Eventually, the banging stopped, filling me with relief. Summoning my courage, I turned on all the lights in the house, believing that ghosts don't attack in bright light. After much deliberation, I mustered my mental and physical strength and decided to check if she had gone. Slowly, I approached the door, opened it slightly, and found no one there. With that, my fear disappeared. I opened the door wide and stepped outside to confirm. Suddenly, I tripped over something and fell. To my horror, I saw the girl lying on the floor. I screamed in fear and cautiously approached her to see if she was a ghost. She wasn't. She was just a human like me, badly injured and bleeding. I felt ashamed of my foolishness. I carried her into my house and tried to wake her up. I splashed water on her face, and she woke up, startled, crying and begging for help, fearing for her life. I comforted her, giving her water, first aid for her wounds, and something to eat. As she calmed down, she shared her story with me. She had been kidnapped by a group of people who exploited children for begging, threatening them with brutal beatings if they didn't comply. Today, she was their target, enduring their violence because she refused to obey. Her revelation made me realize that the screams heard in the cottage weren't from a ghost, as everyone had assumed, but from victims like her. People were too afraid to investigate, fearing ghosts. If only they had opened their doors, they could have saved many innocent children. She looked scared and innocent, and I assured her that I would rescue her and the other children. I immediately called the police, who arrived at my cottage around 4 a.m. The girl bravely recounted her ordeal, and the police arrested the gang of 5, rescuing the children from their clutches. The police praised my bravery and mentioned that the government would recognize my courageous act. Only you and I know the story of my bravery, so let's keep it between us as a secret forever. Don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling adventures. Until next time, remember, in the depths of the dark, unforgettable moments await. Goodbye.